We continue now at the top of Daf Zayin Amud Aleph and Mesechet Shekalim. This is Shekalim Daf 7a. The Mishnah had said that if you have money that was designated for a Nazir, for his karbanos, then if there's any extra Nazir, the moser, that extra money is going to be used l'nedava. Again, it's going to be used as a donation to the Beis HaMikdash to bring carbon ola. So the Gemara says that Rav Chisda Amar, Rav Chisda says, V'hu shekarva chataso besof. This halacha is only true if the Nazir brings his carbon chatas at the end. The Nazir has to bring a number of karbanos, and if the chatas is the last one, so then it's considered to be moser, it's considered to be extra money of a carbon chatas, and moser chatas is l'nedava. For moser chatas, you use that extra money as a donation to the Beis HaMikdash to bring carbon olos, again in the long summer days, in order that the mizbeach should not be batel. Avol yikarvu shlamim besof. But let's say the Nazir chooses to bring his carbon shlamim at the end, so then the halacha is moser and shlamim. The halacha generally is that the extra money that was designated for carbon shlamim is used for other carbon shlamim, and that's what's going to be in this case as well. That's what Rav Chisda holds. Amar Rav Zeira says, no, afilu karvu shlamim levasof. Even if you have a situation where the Nazir brings the shlamim as his last carbon, still halacha achas hi benazir. It's one halacha when it comes to Nazir. Shetia, moser, nedava, that all the extra money is going to be used for nedava, not going to be used for a shlamim. Gemara says, Masnisa Messiah L'Dain, Masnisa Messiah L'Dain. We have a brisa that supports the position of Rav Chisda, and we have a brisa that supports the position of Rav Zeira as well. Masnisa Messiah L'Rav Zeira. The following brisa supports the position of Rabbi Zeira. Eluhain Ma'os Stumin. The following is considered Ma'os, money that has a stam designation. Kol shedmei chatos misos me'uravos bahen. The Gra takes out the word misos over here, and the case over here is as follows. Let's say you have a Nazir who again separates money, designates money for his karbanos, and then he dies. So that money, what is it used for? So in a situation where it's Ma'os Stumin, he didn't designate any particular money for any particular carbon. So you don't know which money is going to be used for the carbon chatos, which is used for the shlamim, which is used for the ola. In that situation, it's going to be considered Ma'os Stumin, and that money is going to go l'nedava. But then the brisa says, "Va'afilu hifresh t'mei chatos mitocha." Even if a person would set aside money for the carbon chatos, so all the remaining money is clearly not for a chatos, so maybe you would think it's not l'nedava. No, the brisa says Ma'os Stumin hein. That's also considered Ma'os Stumin. In all cases, it goes l'nedava, and that's exactly what Reb Zeira said. Reb Zeira said it doesn't matter if the shlamim is the last carbon. If not, it makes no difference. In all situations, the mosra of the money that the Nazir designates as l'nedava, and the same thing over here. Here it's not extra money, but here it's money that was originally designated for the Nazir's karbanos. Even if the carbon chatos is not involved at all, still we say that money goes to nedava. It's the same basic idea. The money that's designated for the karbanos of a Nazir are always l'nedava. And the Gemara continues, Masnisa Messiah Rav Chisda. We also have a brisa that supports Rav Chisda. The brisa says, Elu lechatasi v'hashar l'shar nezirusi. Let's say a person designates money for carbon chatos, and the rest is designated for other karbanos that are needed for naziris. Umeis, and then the guy dies. Mo'alin bekulon ve'ein mo'alin b'miksasan. Halacha is you can have me'ilah by all of them, but you can't have me'ilah by part of them. And the idea is that if you set aside all the money for the carbon chatos, the rest of that money is either going to the carbon ola or to the carbon shlamim. Now, if you use all that money for yourself, then you're certainly using some of the money from the carbon ola for yourself. A carbon ola is considered kadshe kachim, and there's me'ilah by kadshe kachim. But if you just take part of the money for yourself, miksasan, so then maybe the money that you took was really the carbon shlamim money. And if it was the carbon shlamim money, there's no me'ilah over there, because shlamim are considered kachim kalim. They're a more lenient form of kachim. V'lo amar imeis yiplu l'nedava. But it doesn't say in this brisa that since the guy died, it all goes to nedava, meaning if in this particular case where the Nazir died, all of this money, whether it was the money that was for the shlamim or whether it was the money that was from the ola, and it wasn't designated, and we don't know which money was from what, but really it would all be going to ola, because the halacha would be moser, the moser of the carbon shlamim as well, is l'nedava, becomes olos for the kayetz hamizbeach. So therefore it really would all be olos, and there would be me'ilah by all of it. But we don't say that. Instead we say that in this case, if you take only part of the money, it's not going to be me'ila because you might be taking from the shlamim, and that's a proof for what Rav Chisda said, that in a situation where you have moser and shlamim, so then if you bring a shlamim levasof, then we say that the extra is used for shlamim. It's not used for carbon ola. So since it's used for carbon shlamim, you have here money that's shlamim and money that's ola, and therefore if you only use part of the money for your own benefit, that is not going to be a situation of me'ila. Gemara continues, Rav Chisda Amar, Rav Chisda says, moser lachmo shel nazir. Let's say you have extra money that was designated for the lechem of the nazir. When the nazir would bring a carbon shlamim at the end of his nazirus, he would bring lechem together with that as well. So he designated money, he bought the lechem, but now he has extra money. What does he do with that money? York of it has to go to waste. There's nothing you can do with that money. Amar Rabbi Yossi says, V'yos, that makes sense. Why? La'akrivo b'fnei atzmo einat yochel. You designated it for lechem. Now you can't bring lechem without carbon shlamim. So if he has this extra money, he can't use it to bring more lechem. That's impossible. She'ein lach lechem karev latzmo. You never have a situation of a lechem offering in the Beis HaMikdash by itself. La'akrivo im naziras acheres. Now what could you do instead? Maybe you could take this money and use it for someone else, for their naziras. Some other nazir is bringing carbon shlamim. He can use this money for the lechem. That einat yachol, that's also not possible. Shein lach nazirus ba below lechem, because that other nazir, when you bring the shlamim, you have to bring it with lechem as well. So that nazir, when he's going to purchase his shlamim, he's going to purchase it together with lechem. He's not going to need any lechem. So lafum kain sarach meimar. So therefore, you have to say moser lach moshel nazir yorkav, that the extra money from the lechem of the nazir is going to go to waste. There's nothing you can do with it. The Gemara continues, Savrin Meimar, they thought to say, Hu lachma hu moser nesachav, that just like the halacha we said by lechem, that the moser of the lechem should be yorkav, should go to waste, maybe the same thing is true by the nesachim, that a nazir brings, the libations. Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Bon, moser nesachav kadshe kadshe, and that's incorrect, because the extra money from nesachim have a status of kadshe kadshim. They're considered a type of kadshim that is the holier kind of kadshim, and therefore v'yiplu l'nedava. When you have moser of kadshe kadshim, that money is used l'nedava, again, for carbon ola that's brought in the summertime in order to keep it that the mizbeach should not be batel. The Gemara continues, and we're going to go with the gears of the Gra over here. Al daite de Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Bon, according to this opinion of Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Bon, which really is in the name of Rav Chisda, that moser nesachim go l'nedava because they're kadshe kadshim. So Shmuel v'Rav Chisda v'Reb Elazar, Shmuel and Rav Chisda and Reb Elazar, shlosh and amru davar echad. They all say the same idea, that kadshe kadshim, the extra of kadshe kadshim, go l'nedava. So Rav Chisda hada amran. Rav Chisda is the one we just said. That's the idea that moser nesachav go to Nedava. Shmuel, where do we see it from Shmuel? The Amar Rabbi Yossi, because Rabbi Yossi said, Adanos Amon, while I was still in Bavel, before I went to Eretz Yisrael, Sham is called Rabbi Yehuda, Shal Shmuel. I heard the voice of Rabbi Yehuda ask Shmuel the following question. Hifrish shikl of a mace. Let's say a person separates money for the machatz at shekel and he dies. What happens to that money? Amar Lei said to him, Shmuel said, Yiplu l'nedava. It should go l'nedava. It's the same basic principle. Kadshe kadshim, the moser of kadshe kadshim, go l'nedava. And finally, the last one, Rebbe Elazar says, now here also, there's a girsa change. We're talking specifically about the moser asiris ha'efa shalo, meaning of the Kohen Gadol. Let's say the Kohen Gadol who brings the asiris ha'efa every day, it's a carbon mincha, so let's say you have extra money from there, so that's going to be the following machlokis. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Yolichem liyam hamelach. Rabbi Yochanan says that goes to the Yam HaMelech, you do nothing with the money. Rabbi Elazar says, Yiplu l'nedava, it goes l'nedava, and again, it's the same basic idea. This carbon, this asiris ha'efa of the Kohen Gadol is kadshe kadshim, so the moser goes l'nedava. The Gemara continues with the Mishnah, moser shavuyim l'shvuyim. Let's say you have money that you collected in order for pidyon shvuyim to redeem captives, so if you have any extra money, you use it for other captives. Moser shavay. Now let's say you collected money for one particular captive and you have extra, so then la'oso shavay, that money goes to that captive. Moser aniyim laniyim. Let's say you collected money for the poor and then you have extra, you give it to other poor people. Moser ani, but again, if you collected money for one particular poor person and you have extra, la'oso ani, it goes to that ani. Moser ha-mesim l'mesim, again, you collect money to use for mesim, to use for burial purposes, that goes for the same purpose, for burial. Moser ha-mes, if you collected for one particular mace, the extra money goes liyarshav, it goes to those who inherit him. Rabbi Meir says, Moser ha-mes yehemunach ad sheyavo eliyahu. If you have any extra money that was collected for a mace, it's yehemunach ad sheyavo Eliyahu, because it's really a suffix what we do with it. Rabbi Nasan says, Moser HaMeis, if you have extra money from a mace, bonin lo nefesh al kivro, you use that money to build a matzeva on his kever. The idea over here is that you have these two opinions, Rabbi Nasan who says it's used for a matzeva, and you have the Tanakama who says that it goes liyarshav. Rabbi Meir's not sure, and therefore it's munach at sheyavo Eliyahu. The Gemara says, Gavu lo becheskas she'ein lo. Let's say they collect money for a mace, and they have a presumption that this mace doesn't have any money. They think he needs the money. V'nimtza sheyeshlo, it turns out there is money. So there's money available for the burial. They never needed to collect in the first place. So Rav Yirmiyah savar meimar moser hameis liyarshav. Rav Yirmiyah thought to say this is the same case as moser hameis liyarshav. In other words, you collect money for a mace, you have extra, it goes to his yarshim. Same thing over here. You collect money for a mace, he doesn't need the money, it goes to his yarshim. So Amar lei Rabbi Idi de Chutra. So Rabbi Idi de Chutra said to Rabbi Yirmiyah, Haga atzmecha. 1 second, consider what you're saying. In this case, the only reason that they're collecting the money is for him and he doesn't need it, so there was never a zechiyah. It's not like in the case of the Mishnah. In the case of the Mishnah, he needed the money, then you had some extra money, so already there's a zechiyah in terms of the estate of the mace, and it goes to the yarshim. But over here, you collected money for a mace who didn't need the money at all, there should be no zechiyah in that money whatsoever. So he responded, Rabbi Yirmiyah responded, Amar lei, Rabbi Yirmiyah said to Rav Idi de Chutra, Ano lo amoris, I never said what you're saying. At minanlach, where are you getting this from? In other words, Rav Idi was the Talmud of Rabbi Yirmiyah, and Rav Yirmiyah was saying, maybe Rav Idi, you have a svara over here, but you didn't hear such a thing from me, so you shouldn't be saying your svara. No, this really is the same. The moser of this money, or this particular money, should go to the yarshim, just like the moser of the mace goes liyarshav. The Gemara continues, Tani b'shem Rabbi Nasan, they taught in the name of Rabbi Nasan, moser ha-mace, if you have the extra money that you collected for a mace, yivna lo nefesh al kivro, again, according to this position, you build a matzeva on his kever, v'yaselo zilaf agavi mitaso, also you should put some besamim over his casket to make it smell nice. That's another thing you could do with the money. And the Gemara continues, Tani, it was taught, ein podin shavi b'shavi, you can't use the money that you collected to redeem one captive to use it to redeem another captive. V'en govin talis b'talis, let's say you collected money to buy a talis for one ani, you can't use that money to buy a talis for another ani. V'en memachin biad parnasim lakach, however, you don't protest if you have people collecting money and they do this, you don't protest against them. Tani, it was taught, Rav Shimon Gamliel Omer, Rav Shimon Gamliel says, Ein osin nefashos l'tzadikim. You don't make a matzeva when it comes to tzadikim, because divreihem hein zichronim. It's their words, which is their memory for them, not the monument that you make. Rabbi Yochanan have a mismach ve'ozil, all Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Rabbi Yochanan was walking and he was leaning on Rabbi Chia bar Abba, who was helping him to walk. And Rabbi Eliezer was like avoiding him, and he was hiding from before him. He didn't want to see him. He didn't go and greet him. And Rabbi Yochanan was offended, and he said, this Babylonian over here is doing two things wrong. Number one, he's not saying shalom to me. And additionally, he's hiding from me. That's also disrespectful. So Amar lei Rabbi Yaakov Baridi. So Rabbi Yaakov Baridi said to Rabbi Yochanan, he was trying to convince Rabbi Yochanan that Rabbi Eliezer did was not really something that should be considered offensive. And he said, Kach nehigen gabhon, this is actually the custom by us. That the person who is of a smaller stature does not say Shalom Aleichem to someone of a greater stature. So he didn't say Shalom Aleichem to you because you're greater. And the reason is because we fulfill the following pasuk. The pasuk says, Ra'uni na'arim v'nechbu, the young ones saw me and they hid. V'yeshishim kamu, but the older ones, they stood up before me. So again, they're being Mekayim this pasuk. He's being Mekayim this pasuk that is somebody who's of a lower stature. He's not saying Shalom Aleichem. But the Gemara continues that Rabbi Yochanan was still not satisfied. So Amar lei, so now Rabbi Yaakov Baridi made a further argument, and he said as follows, what would you think, what's your opinion about walking in front of the idol called Adura? So Amar lei said to him, why should you give this idol any honor? Avur kamoi v'sami inoi. The best thing you should do is walk in front of it and cover your eyes. In other words, it's better not to avoid the idol, says Rabbi Yochanan. You should walk in front and cover your eyes, show it disrespect. So Amar lei, so now he said to Rabbi Yochanan, Yos Rabbi Eliezer Ovid. In that case, Rabbi Eliezer did the right thing. Delo avar kamach, because he didn't walk in front of you. In other words, that's the respectful thing. By the idol, where you want to disrespect it, you specifically walk in front and you hide your eyes. He didn't want to walk in front of you. That was a way of showing respect. And the Gemara continues that Rabbi Yochanan complained further, and he said, V'yod Ovid habavla, this Babylonian did another thing wrong. Because he didn't say the sugya in his name, meaning in my name. He didn't say over my teaching in my name. So now again they tried to appease Rabbi Yochanan. Nichnasu lefanav Rabbi Ami v'Rabasi. Rabbi Ami and Ravasi, they entered in front of him. Amru lo, they said to him, Rabbi kachoy amaisu v'veis haKnesset shel Tarsiyim. This was actually the story that happened in the shul of the Tarsiyim. Benagor sheyesh barosho glistra. It was by the case of a doorstop that has like a thick end. Shenechleku. So they were arguing about this very case. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Zayin Amud Beis.